Welcome to Conspiracy Deconstructed. This is where we tackle the stories that stick, From the old historical ones right up to the stuff brewing online right now. We dig into how they start, why they catch on, and what they might actually be telling us about ourselves.
And today, we're staying completely in that digital world. But the topic, well, it hits on something pretty fundamental, almost philosophical. What if reality, our physical reality, isn't quite as solid as we think? What if it has, weak spots?
What if you could just fall out?
Exactly. What if you could accidentally fall out of existence as we know it?
That's where we're headed. We're focusing on this huge collaborative online thing called the Backrooms. We're going to trace it right from, believe it or not, a single anonymous photo, just a random bit of internet flotsam, all the way to this, viral media sensation.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you want to get a quick handle on where this massive online legend came from, what it tacks into culturally, get past just the jump scares and into the psychology, well, this is for you.
Consider this your complete guide.
It really is a fascinating example of how stories get built now, decentrally. It reflects all sorts of anxieties we have about buildings, about work, about being isolated. So our mission really is to deconstruct it. Look at the architecture, the digital roots, the psychology.
But first, we need to feel it, right? We have to start with the core horror, that moment the legend describes, when you realize you've just clipped through the floor of reality. Okay, so let's get into that central idea, the scary part. The legend is weirdly specific about how it happens, isn't it?
It is. It says if you're just not careful, maybe leaning on a wall that looks solid, or you step into a corner that's, glitchy, or just brush against a texture that's wrong.
Oof.
Yeah. Suddenly, you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas. That's the phrase. And you're instantly somewhere else in this huge, terrifying non-space.
And the horror isn't just leaving, it's where you end up.
Oh, absolutely. That canonical first place, level 0. Millions of people online instantly know what you mean. That image is burned in. And it's built from stuff that's familiar, but awful.
It's those sensory details, I think, that make it so effective. They ground this impossible idea in really mundane, almost grimy feelings. The lore talks about this insane scale. What was it, 600 million square miles?
Something like that. Roughly 600 million square miles of these segmented, empty rooms you're trapped in. It's bigger than any continent, supposedly, but it's all just cheap drywall and carpet.
That vastness creates this, existential dread. But it gets immediate, visceral because of the atmosphere.
Yeah, it hits all your senses. Visually, it's the madness of mono yellow, that single, sickly, uniform yellow wallpaper everywhere, every corner, every wall.
And it's not a nice yellow, is it? It's always described as fungal or old photos fading, that yellow of decay or just cheap institutional paint.
Exactly that. Then there's the feel, the smell, that inescapable stink of old, moist carpet. That detail just grounds the horror in something really physical and kind of repulsive.
Yeah, that smell of damp and neglect. No one's ever cleaned it, but it just persists.
And the sound. You mentioned the hum. That auditory part is maybe the worst for long-term dread. That endless, grating background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz.
It's the sound of sterility, but because there's no one there, it's just overwhelming. It feels like a machine running for absolutely no reason. Empty function.
It's the sound of bureaucracy humming along with no people in it. And right from the very beginning, that original 4chan post back in 2019, this emptiness, this dread, was immediately tied to a threat.
The warning, yeah.
That was the kicker, wasn't it? God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you.
Yoli.
It instantly turns it from just being lost in a weird place to being hunted. You're not just stranded, you're prey.
So how does something that specific, that terrifying, this endless yellow office maze actually start? Usually legends go back centuries, old stories, weird places. This one, it started with a forum prompt.
Yeah, the traceability is what's really unique here for modern folklore. We can pinpoint the exact moment the story part began, May 12th, 2019.
Okay, where?
On 4chan. The paranormal board, X, an anonymous user just started a thread asking people to post disquieting images that just feel off. Simple as that.
Just share creepy pictures.
Yeah.
And someone posted the photo.
Exactly. That slightly tilted shot, big, empty, carpeted room, yellow wallpaper, those dividing walls, fluorescent lights. That was the one.
And that picture wasn't even new, right?
Right. That specific image, it's kind of the Rosetta Stone for this whole thing, and had been floating around online for years before that. People have found versions going back to at least 2011, maybe even 2018 on some forums. But it was just a weird picture No story attached.
Until next day.
Until the next day, May 13th. Another anonymous user replied to that photo, and that reply gave it the name, The Backrooms, and crucially, introduced the whole idea of no clipping out of reality.
Wow. So one reply basically boosts the entire creepypasta.
Pretty much. It gave everyone the concept and the language to start building on it.
And this was 2019. Why did it catch on so fast then? What was going on digitally or culturally that made this specific yellow room so resonant?
Well, it immediately plugged into something that was already happening online. The whole liminal space aesthetic.
Ah, right. Those pictures of empty airports, deserted malls, schools at night.
Exactly. Transitional places. Places you're meant to pass through, usually full of people, malls, airports, offices. But when they're empty, the architecture itself starts to feel weird, exposed, unnatural, eerie.
So the lack of people is the key. That emptiness in a place designed for people.
That's a huge part of it. It taps into that feeling called canopsia. It's a newer word, but it means that eerie, kind of sad atmosphere of a place that's normally busy, but is now totally empty and quiet. The Backrooms Level 0 architecture is functional, carpet, lights, walls, but its purpose seems canceled. It's just there.
It definitely hits that uncanny feeling. Unheimlich, as Freud called it. It looks familiar, like an office basement or something we've all maybe glimpsed, but it's deeply wrong. Unhomely.
And the yellow color we talked about adds to that. It feels cheap, sterile, but also like it's decaying, institutional rot.
Yeah.
And it seems to have resonated because of a shared experience, especially maybe for younger people online. It connects to these vague childhood memories, maybe being dragged to an empty office after hours or wandering into the back rooms of a store, places you felt you shouldn't be.
That mix of nostalgia and anxiety.
Exactly. That made the whole concept feel strangely familiar and unsettlingly personal. Sticky.
And once it sparked, the internet did what it does. It became collaborative, built out.
Yeah.
But that caused issues, right?
Instantly. The moment it moved beyond just the photo and the initial description, it became a shared world-building project, a lot like the SCP Foundation, another huge collaborative horror thing. It spread super fast to places like Reddit, creepypasta, and then dedicated Backrooms subreddits.
But that growth led to a split in the community.
Yeah.
The canon split.
Yeah. It was almost inevitable. You basically got two camps. First, the purists. They love the original vibe, just level 0, the emptiness, the yellow, the hum, pure existential dread. For them, adding monsters or complicated rules just dilutes that perfect minimal horror.
So they wanted to keep it simple and scary.
Right. They even made their own places, like the Our True Backrooms subreddit, to preserve that original feeling.
And the other side.
There are the elaborationists, the world builders. They jumped on the collaborative potential. They added the creatures, the survival guides, hundreds, thousands of different levels with unique looks and dangers. They turned the scary, empty space into a huge, complex, dangerous maze you could actually try to navigate.
So it became more like a game for them.
In a way, yeah. And this tension between the purest dread and the elaborate gamified lore is actually what keeps it alive and growing, attracting all sorts of creators and fans. Do you want pure fear, or do you want to figure out how to survive the story?
Okay, so even though we know it's basically collaborative fiction, the sheer detail and internal logic the community built up, it makes it feel incredibly real to a lot of people.
Let's look at the core pieces of the lore that make it feel so authentic, the believer's case, if you will.
Right. The first big thing that anchors it is how you get there. That no clipping mechanic.
Yeah.
Proponents argue it's not just a metaphor. They describe it as a precise, almost physical process, not a dream, not a breakdown, but literally breaking through reality's barrier.
And it's fascinating that they use that specific term, no clipping, straight out of video games. Why does a known game glitch suddenly sound plausible for, real life?
I think because it taps into a very modern, systems-based way of thinking. It frames reality itself as maybe being like a program, a simulation that has bugs, flaws, exploitable glitches, and these glitches let you access something underneath or behind.
Like falling through the map in a game. Exactly. In games, when you no-clip, you often end up in this weird, empty, unfinished space under the designed level. The Backrooms is that space. It's like the discarded code, the unrendered parts of existence, a digital metaphor made physical.
So you don't just wander in, you glitch in. It implies reality itself has flaws. It's a very modern twist on the old thin places idea, but rooted in gamer culture and system failure.
Totally. It's a legend trip for the digital age. Instead of a haunted house, you're looking for a bug in the world's physics engine.
Okay, so that's entry. What's next in making it feel real? The environment itself.
Yeah. The second point is the sheer complexity of the geography that grew way beyond just that first yellow room. This is where the elaborationists really went to town.
They didn't just add a few variations, did they? They built this massive structured world.
Oh, yeah. The community wikis, like the wiki.one, which is sort of the main hub, they've documented potentially thousands of distinct levels, each one with its own architectural style, its own environmental hazards, its own rules for survival. It's incredibly detailed.
Almost like a D&D campaign setting.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And that structure makes it feel more intentional, less random. Level 1 is often described as industrial concrete, rebar, loud noises. Level 2 is dark service tunnels, very claustrophobic. This layering gives the world depth, makes it feel less like just an empty void and more like a hostile but navigable place.
But navigating is tricky because of the inhabitants. Point 3.
The entities.
Why?
Right, you're not alone. That's a key shift into survival horror. The collective storytellers populated this place with all sorts of hostile creatures, things that react to light or sound or movement.
And they're often really specific and creepy, aren't they?
Definitely. The lore is full of them. You've got the Smiler, which is basically just this terrifying grin in the dark. The Skin Stealer, which supposedly mimics people to trick you. Party Goers, which sound fun but are apparently extremely dangerous, often found in weirdly bright fake party levels.
Okay, creepy.
The sheer variety means there's always a different kind of threat potentially around the corner. It adds immediate danger beyond just getting lost.
And finally, the fourth thing that really boosted the sense of realism, especially recently, is that big YouTube series by Kane Pixels.
Ah, yes, Kane Parsons. His series, starting in 2022, was a game changer in terms of production value and giving the whole thing a kind of authoritative, almost documented backstory.
Using that found footage style, right?
Yes.
Set in the past.
Exactly. Mostly the 1990s, which is brilliant, actually. It gives you that fuzzy VHS aesthetic, the clunky tech. It feels grounded. And his story introduces this fictional research group, Async.
Async. And they supposedly discovered the Backrooms.
Yeah, in his canon, they called it the Complex. They supposedly found it in the late 80s using some kind of low-proximity magnetic distortion system. Very sci-fi jargon.
And they started exploring it.
Right. Setting up bases, mapping it out. But the story goes, their gateway project, The Threshold, accidentally caused a huge spike in missing persons cases, people falling in. It gives the whole random horror this plausible, bureaucratic, almost governmental cover story, like Area 51, but for a dimension of infinite yellow rooms.
It makes it feel like a conspiracy, not just a random glitch. That's clever narrative work.
Okay, so we've laid out how this incredibly detailed, immersive world feels real to so many people. Now we need to step back and calmly go through those points and pin down the verifiable facts behind the fiction.
Starting with the absolute origin, that photo, level 0. For a long time, it was this internet ghost photo, right? No source.
And that anonymity was key to its power. If no one knew where the photo came from, then maybe, just maybe, the story about it being a tear in reality could be true. It left that door open.
Wait, the door's closed now.
Pretty firmly, yeah. The legendary image is definitely not from another dimension. We have some very dedicated internet sleuths to thank for this, mostly working together on Discord.
How'd they even find it?
It took a lot of work. Reverse image searching, digging through web archives, using things like the Wayback Machine, pooling knowledge about architecture and locations. Eventually, they traced it. According to reports in places like Forbes and Boing Boing, the key was finding an archived webpage from way back in March 2003.
And what was on the webpage?
Photos documenting the renovation of a former furniture store in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Seriously?
Seriously, the photo itself was taken in June 2002. They were clearing out this old store space, putting up temporary walls, hence the cheap yellow dividing walls, getting it ready for its next life.
Which was, please don't say an infinite labyrinth.
Even better in a way. It was being converted into a radio-controlled car racing track.
You're kidding. The ultimate symbol of existential dread started as a space being prepped for tiny race cars.
That's the reality, the most mundane possible origin. That specific layout only existed for a short time during construction in 2002. It doesn't look like that anymore. The mystery is solved. It was quite literally just a back room.
Wow. The juxtaposition is almost poetic. Mythic horror built on basic retail renovation.
It really is a triumph of digital detective work. Okay, next up, the no-clipping entry method. Great story hook, but its origins are purely digital, not physical.
It's gamer talk, right?
100%. Experts point out no clipping is literally a cheat command in video games. You type it in or use a tool, and it lets your character ignore the game's physics, pass through walls, fly around. You become like a ghost in the machine.
And often you see the unfinished bits, the stuff outside the normal map.
Exactly. So the Backrooms concept just takes that gamer experience glitching out of the intended play area and applies it to reality itself. It suggests our reality might also be a flawed system you can break out of. It's a modern fear, born from understanding how code works or doesn't work.
A glitch in the Matrix horror story. Makes sense for an internet legend.
Totally. Okay, then there's the massive lore. All those levels, the creatures, the rules. It feels so organized, so real because it's so vast.
But that vastness isn't evidence of another dimension.
No, it's evidence of human creativity, specifically what researchers call collective creativity or audience co-creation. The way it grew so fast, with everyone adding bits. There's a term for that process in online folklore studies. It's called reverse ostension.
Reverse ostension. Okay, break that down.
So normal ostension is like a real weird event happens and then legends grow around it. Reverse ostension is the opposite. You start with a tiny fragment, the photo, the no-clip idea, and the community works backwards. They essentially reverse engineer a narrative tradition, connecting all these little bits and pieces people post on forums and wikis.
So one person describes a monster, another person describes a level where that monster might live, and the community just weaves it all together.
Precisely. They correlate and connect everything until it looks like this ancient, coherent mythology. But it wasn't designed top-down, it grew bottom-up, collaboratively. The complexity isn't proof it's real, it's proof of how good humans are at building worlds together online.
It's a super sophisticated creepypasta, basically.
Exactly. And finally, that Kane Pixels canon. We mentioned how effective it is, making it feel documented. But we need to be clear, it's brilliant fiction, not fact.
Right. It's animation.
Very sophisticated animation. Kane Parsons uses 3D software like Blender, effects software like After Effects. He meticulously crafts that look, that atmosphere, that found footage feel. The first video alone reportedly took him a month to make.
And it blew up. Over 68 million views for that first one, you said?
As of late 2025, yeah. It's huge. It's credited with really pushing the Backrooms into the mainstream. And now there's an A24 feature film adaptation in the works.
Which pretty much confirms its status as fictional IP, right?
Yeah.
Not a documented phenomenon.
Absolutely. It shows how high production values can make fiction feel incredibly authentic, but it's still fiction. So the really interesting question isn't if the Backrooms are real. We know the origin furniture store renovation, Oshkosh. The question is why? Why does this specific fictional place, this cheap, institutional, yellow non-space, feel so deeply real and scary to literally millions of people? Now we get to the psychology.
And it seems like the first hook is the architecture itself. It taps into a real discomfort with certain kinds of modern buildings, doesn't it? It's like a critique of dehumanizing design.
That's a huge part of it, the architectural dread. It connects directly to real-world design philosophies, like the international style, very cold, rational, repetitive, inorganic. Buildings designed purely for function, for standardization, not really for human comfort or individuality.
Like giant office blocks or endless corridors? Places designed to process people, not welcome them.
Exactly. Architectural analysts point out these kinds of spaces often create discomfort, precisely because they lack any attempt at emotional provocation and comfort. You're meant to be anonymous in them, efficient, maybe replaceable. The space itself is fundamentally inhuman.
And being in a place like that for too long, it can mess with your head.
The idea is it makes your own identity feel breakable. When the environment completely refuses to acknowledge you as an individual, you start to lose your sense of self. It's the perfect architecture for existential dread, a space so vast and indifferent that your own existence feels meaningless within it.
And that architectural dread seems to bleed directly into a social critique, right? Especially for maybe older audiences. The whole capitalist horror metaphor.
Oh, definitely. That reading is very strong. Falling out of reality into an endless, ugly, yellow wallpapered office with no windows, no escape, and no clear purpose. That lands hard as a metaphor for modern corporate life or dead-end jobs for a lot of people.
Yeah, I can see that. The feeling of being trapped in a system that's just there. Pointless, maybe, but inescapable.
It mirrors that feeling of being stuck in a sprawling, confusing bureaucracy that just exists for its own sake. Endlessly expanding, maybe, but also soul-crushingly boring. The no clipping in feels like how people describe falling into a career path they hate, losing sight of a meaningful life outside the corporate loop.
And the monsters, the entities, they fit that metaphor too.
Easily. People interpret them as stand-ins for horrible bosses, toxic coworkers, or just the impersonal, predatory nature of the system itself, something that consumes your energy and offers nothing fulfilling in return. It's like the ultimate nightmare of the workplace, where the building and its inhabitants are hostile.
But the timing was also key, wasn't it? This exploded during the pandemic.
The timing is absolutely critical, yeah. The Backrooms really took off in popularity during 2020, 2021, a time of intense global isolation and anxiety.
The whole world suddenly felt like a liminal space. Empty streets, empty buildings.
Exactly. The Backrooms perfectly captured that feeling. The desolation of places that used to be bustling. Schools, malls, offices, suddenly empty. And we were all stuck inside, feeling trapped between the real world, which felt broken, and the virtual world online.
That feeling of confinement.
Yeah. It made the Backrooms instantly relatable. It became this kind of cathartic and creative outlet, a way to explore those feelings of being trapped, isolated, unsure if the world outside would ever go back to normal. It resonated with that pandemic dread.
And there's one more layer, maybe. The social aspect. The act of actually building the lore together.
Yes, that's important too. In a time of isolation, that communal co-creation is powerful. It lets people who feel maybe alienated and powerless actually become powerful and controlling within the framework of this shared story.
What's so?
Well, you're not just a victim lost in the maze anymore. By contributing, writing a level description, drawing an entity, figuring out rules, you become an expert, an architect, a historian, a survivor guide for this secret world.
You get to possess secret knowledge, like knowing the dangers of level 7 or where a safe spot might be.
Exactly. It creates this sense of shared understanding, a secret community. Even though the place itself is about ultimate loneliness, the fact that millions are describing the same musty yellow rooms validates that shared psychological experience, that modern anxiety. It offers connection through shared dread. #tag outro. So when you boil it down, the Backrooms phenomenon, it starts with a random photo of a room being renovated.
In Oshkosh. Can't forget Oshkosh.
Oshkosh. And it evolves into this powerful collaborative story. It's a critique of monotonous architecture, but also modern work, and definitely the isolation we all felt during the pandemic. It's a mirror to a lot of contemporary fears.
The core fear seems to be that the places built for efficiency offices, malls, parking garages, hallways, are actually these vast, indifferent labyrinths just beneath the surface, designed without us in mind, really.
Waiting for a glitch, waiting for us to slip.
So, if the internet's most terrifying endless maze started with just a normal room under construction, it makes you think, doesn't it? What everyday uncanny spaces do you walk through regularly?
Maybe that empty floor in the office building. Or a weirdly long service corridor, a basement level in a hospital.
Places that feel just a bit too quiet, a bit too empty, secretly waiting for you to lean on the wrong wall and clip right through.
The legend is fiction, but the anxieties it plugs into, those feel very real.
Definitely something to ponder. Keep exploring, keep asking questions about the stories we tell ourselves. And maybe, just maybe, be careful near strange-looking walls.